In a move that wasn't unexpected, the new mayor of Seattle has extended the city's eviction moratorium another month. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. Alright, so this article, it shouldn't come as any surprise to anyone who's a landlord or anyone who's been reading about what's going on in Seattle, because basically it's a very, very left-leaning, progressive place, and they have a lot of anti-landlord, pro-tenant laws there. So this isn't really a surprise, but hey, the new mayor of Seattle, the one who just took office, has decided to extend the city's eviction moratorium another month. So it's not over. It's crazy to me to think that, hey, the eviction moratoriums in places like even New York State were allowed to expire. But in Seattle, nope. They're going to keep this going for who knows how long. Now, before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment down below if you haven't already. And let me know, did you expect the new mayor of Seattle to be any less progressive than the prior one? I mean, really, did you expect them to end this eviction moratorium? I did not, okay? And actually, I was surprised when they ended New York's eviction moratorium and they decided just to let it expire and move on. But that is not happening up in Seattle. And this is really what the end result's going to be is landlords are not going to be able to have any evictions ever. That's what they want. They want to basically take control of the property from the landlord, put it into the government's hand, and the government controls the prices. The government controls who can and can't be evicted, who can and can't be rented to. And, the result is that we're going to move into this socialist system where the government controls everything. And I despise it. I just don't think it's right. So this article, it's coming from the Seattle Times, and it says, Harrell, I think that's the new mayor's name, extends Seattle eviction bans, orders utilities to keep allowing flexible payments. Let's see what this article says about the situation. Mayor Bruce Harrell said Wednesday that he will issue an executive order extending Seattle's eviction moratoriums for residents, small businesses, and nonprofits for an additional 30 days until February 14th, Valentine's Day. Former Mayor Jenny Durkin most recently extended the moratoriums in September, setting them to last through January the 15th. The moratoriums on most residential evictions and some commercial evictions were extended 6 times by Durkin after they were established in March 2020 in response to the coronavirus pandemic. Well, they created a lot of the issues that required what they think required an eviction moratorium. And what's even worse is the fact that they had a commercial eviction moratorium going on as well. So not just residents who lived in these properties and faced eviction, but they thought, if we put this commercial eviction moratorium in place, then this will help protect our small businesses who aren't able to pay their rent. Well, the problem is that, hey, a lot of landlords, they are 100% dependent on these small businesses paying their leases, and they can't survive either. They've created a true mess where they put all these moratoriums into place without providing any sort of stimulus or any way to get relief. I know they had these rent relief programs and all that, but they're passing the buck on to the taxpayer basically to pay the rent for people who can't afford it, whether that be a business or for a resident. Now, the other thing they did was they forced these businesses to shut down. Now, if they hadn't put into place lockdown orders and stay-at-home orders, maybe these small businesses could have survived. Maybe they could have made their businesses safe so that customers could still come in and solicit those businesses. But they told people, no, you can't go over here. You can't solicit this business. So they put a lot of businesses, they put them out of business. And then they're putting more businesses out of business when they say, hey, you don't have to pay your landlord on top of that. So what you end up with is you got people who've been sitting here in these small businesses that aren't making any money for the last 2 years, and they're bankrupting their landlord. So everyone's getting bankrupted all because of overreaching government, too many ridiculous government policies that didn't help anything. And wow, I mean, it's a total mess. Really, if anything, the eviction moratoriums, the rental assistance program, all of the stimulus, all of that, this was an experiment in socialism. And this is going to show you exactly why socialism doesn't work. Why do you think we have skyrocketing inflation? Why do you think that there are less people who are re-entering the workforce than ever before? Why do you think that businesses can't find employees to fill their positions? Because simply put, the government is carrying, the load. They're just passing out free money like nothing. So this is a failed experiment of socialism. I hope that people get the picture and realize this stuff doesn't work. I mean, I know I'm not the only one. I knew this before. I knew socialism didn't work before. I did a lot of research about all these socialist governments and saw all their failings, and simply put, that is why I am 100% opposed to it in every single way. So when you see these cities and states that believe that, hey, well, maybe this time, we'll do socialism the right way and it'll work. And we know it won't. So yeah, let's continue with this article. Harrell's extension also directs Seattle City Light and Seattle Public Utilities to continue to make flexible payment plans and halt utility shutoffs for 90 days until April 15th. Harrell said the spike of COVID-19 cases, resulting in more than 15,000 new cases per day in Washington, shows the necessity of the extension. So yeah, once again, they were talking about, well, the case counts show and they prove that we need to extend. Like, what do the case counts have to do with people being able to pay their rent? I mean, for real. Okay, if we're talking about, hey, people are getting hospitalized and, this true thing, they have to stay home because they can't. No. Basically, the infection from Omicron, which is the prevalent variant that's going on right now, it's very, very mild. So that we're not going to face the sort of problems we did early on when we didn't know anything about, the virus. We didn't know anything about what was needed to truly protect people. So there's not going to be any lockdown orders like there were before, hopefully. I mean, who knows? In Seattle, they might have a lockdown order. But yeah, the economic consequences of all of their lockdown orders, hopefully they dissuaded the government from ever doing that again. So putting in place another eviction moratorium, I mean, it's like you're punishing one specific business and telling them, hey, you don't have a right to make money, while you're doing nothing to a lot of other businesses, and that's just wrong. This is certainly not over, Harrell said at news conference. The mayor, who took office last week, said that he would create a group of small landlords and tenant advocates to discuss the efficacy of the moratorium in an effort to protect both groups. At the end of the day, here's our value. We can't have anyone suffer homelessness because of financial challenges, Harrell said. Well, here's the problem, okay? You're saying people shouldn't suffer homelessness because of financial challenges. Well, that is fine if you intend for the government to provide housing for that person. That is what you should be working on, okay? You shouldn't say, hey, landlords, you have to be the homeless shelter. You have to pay to house this person because this person lost their job. So now all of a sudden it is the landlord's job to solve the ills of homelessness on their own, out of their own pocket. I mean, and no longer be able to make any money, no longer have any rights over their own property. That's what you're saying. Okay, if you believe that this is such an issue, why don't you personally, acting as mayor, say, hey, we're going to make sure none of these people lose their homes by either directing money directly to the landlord so that these people don't miss a single rent payment, or by providing housing, by building government housing for these people. But no, instead, you're pushing this onto the landlords, and that's what's wrong. So I hope they really do have a council or a conference with these small landlords and large landlords too, because, hey, you know what? Affects big landlords, affects small landlords too. That's one thing that I figured out a long time ago. They're like, oh, we want to villainize these big landlords. Well, all the laws, all the rules, all the regulations they put in place that are supposed to hit these big landlords hard, they end up affecting small landlords such as myself and, like all the other small mom and pop landlords. The mayor also plans to create an online portal for landlords and tenants where they can find resources from the city. Harrell's order will not prohibit landlords from increasing rents. That's good. Tenants celebrated the extension on Wednesday. I'm relieved. I was starting to get stressed. I was starting to get nervous. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Said Juanita. A Seattle renter for more than a year has been trying to get her Section 8 voucher reinstated after moving from another state. She declined to give her last name because she has experienced domestic violence. Various nonprofits have helped with rent throughout the pandemic, but she estimates she still owes about $5,000. She's waiting to hear whether she will receive rent assistance from King County's program, she said. So yeah, not only does this, they always put the worst examples of tenants in here. They got this tenant in here who never was able to pay their rent on their own, okay? They were dependent on a Section 8 voucher when they were in a different state. They moved to Seattle and they're like, well, I wasn't able to get a Section 8 voucher here in Seattle. Well, yeah, you have to apply, you have to wait just like everyone else. And now you're already $5,000 in arrears. And, it's like, who in their right mind would even rent to this lady, whether she's on Section 8 or not? It seems like she just always is having money problems, okay? But it's not dependent upon the landlord to make sure that she stays housed, okay? It is actually her responsibility 100%. So she's the typical person who thinks that the government is there to solve all of her problems when it's just not the case. Okay, so yeah, like I said, this shouldn't be surprising. I'm not surprised that the new mayor is just as progressive as the former mayor, and I expect landlords in Seattle to continue to suffer, probably even after February 14th when this is set to expire.